everybody, and welcome back to the Manufacturing Summit at the Industry Summit today. So for this second session, it's all about 5G and the smart factory and the digital warehouse and the transformation in that arena. We've got some great speakers lined up, and this is how the session is going to be panning out for the next 45 minutes. So we'll open the session with two presentations, the first from the Manufacturing Summit sponsor, NTT, followed by Qualcomm, and then I'll be handing over to Tunde Akindele from Verizon Communications, who's going to be having a fascinating panel with some great speakers. So let's move straight into the content, and I'm really delighted to welcome Parm to the stage. Here you go, Parm. Fabulous. Thank you so much. And there's the flicker. There we go.
Hi, thanks everyone. Parm Sandhu with NTT. I lead the 5G and edge compute product service development and go-to-market. So really excited to share with you sort of two areas of my topic is how can we help accelerate adoption of 5G smart manufacturing warehousing. So we've done some interesting work with our partner Cisco, as well as ourselves, and wanted to share some of the findings on that. So in terms of, I think we understand the drivers. What are the key drivers for private 5G edge compute? Most of the challenges that have been really driven around, by digital transformation. Either companies are looking to improve security, performance, lower their costs, TCO, drive efficiency. But generally, what we find is that it's being considered across most of these areas of driving product efficiency, manufacturing efficiency, reducing downtime. But the conversation up to now has been mainly around technology, and now we're trying to shift that conversation to value. So NTT, in terms of our offering, and how can a managed service provider assist in this space? Really, it's about driving companies and helping them with scale. So scale and transforming the business model. So we've really looked at, a lot of companies can build networks, but the staff and the resources they need, the technology and skill, that's a big challenge for them. So how can we offer that as a service, but also eliminate the upfront capital costs? So an MSP partnership or a managed service provider partnership can really help transform that operating model for the companies. Then secondly, bringing in solutions. And this is where we really transform from a concept of technology to driving the conversation with our clients to the value. And then finally, offering that as a fully managed operation for SLAs that allows us to scale the business. So I think one of the areas that we can help is with that MSP partnership, where we offer both network as a service, device as a service, and now edge compute as a service. So regardless of the approach that's taken, you want to shift from small single-site deployments to large scale, and companies cannot scale from that perspective unless they have someone like an NTT or CSP type partnership that can help them with that. In terms of the other side is the conversation around use cases. So I'll give you a link in a minute on a paper that we just released in some research that was done of what are the use cases that are going to drive adoption. Now, we looked at a total of about 70 plus use cases, talking to industry experts, CIOs, CXOs, internal experts, both within our partners, Cisco, Deloitte, and ourselves, to really come down with both on the horizontal scale of what's driving demand priorities, so the technology enablers, to where can 5G and edge compute fit. So we looked at both scales and came down to a small, a subset of key use cases that we think are really can drive adoption. So one of the challenges I think we all know is 5G edge has been slow in terms of adoption, but part of that is the ecosystem. The device ecosystem is just starting to mature, but the integration of 5G into AGVs and those devices is still early. So autonomous robots, all of these things, but that's going to come, and that's going to drive the adoption as the ecosystem matures. So really what we found in that research was that there's sort of two key verticals, sub-verticals you can look at: manufacturing, industrial, and logistics. And the link to the paper is up there. But in terms of, a lot of it is tracking assets. Assets within the plant, all the way from the manufacturing parts and components to AGVs, to tools, people inside, that really was driving a lot of that from an asset traceability. And if you think about inside of a manufacturing plant, there's a lot of assets all the way from subparts to completed parts and people and equipment, et cetera, that's moving around. Monitoring, leveraging the data and AI to drive the factory scheduling and automation. So looking at production lines, production output, production capacity. And similarly in smart warehousing, productivity and optimization costs by leveraging a lot of automation within the business processes. And finally, leveraging computer vision or AI analytics to drive intelligent maintenance, so that they're not reducing downtime and improving output and production efficiency. So finally, in fleet tracking, again, managing health of the vehicles, making sure that the trailers are fueled, all of these things that can normally be done by humans on a regular schedule basis can be optimized to just in time. So these are just some of the key use cases that we started looking down and then defining what use case components are needed to build those solutions. So in terms of smart manufacturing, we put together with our advisory teams, what are the solution components, what are the scope of those services, and with each of those services, looking at the different types of sites, whether they're warehouses, large factories, outdoor, indoor type solutions, of where 5G, edge compute, AI analytics solution components can fit. So when you start working with enterprises, looking at these multi-dimensional approach really helps to unlock the value and identify the ROI components. Again, also, what are the sensors that they need? What are the devices and ecosystem to really create that value proposition for customers? So, this is where I think, an MSP, as well as, the use cases together can help scale and drive adoption. And finally, similarly in the area of logistics and warehousing, we looked at opportunities to combine the technologies of 5G, and then what were the use cases? They're looking to reduce mispicks, or they're looking to reduce wastage or spoilage in warehousing. So if we can drive that automation and data analytics, we can pull together, identify areas where 5G, edge compute, computer vision, and automation and AGVs really to connect those type of devices, we could drive the adoption. So ultimately, the types of sites we looked at were warehouses, container yards, large outdoor areas, which seem to be really the areas where we can see adoption as well. Again, making sure that the devices and ecosystem is also available. And from these 3 or 4 pieces together, we were able to demonstrate that you can actually drive significant adoption. It's still early, but we will see that acceleration as the ecosystem matures. And again, the drivers reiterating that an MSP can bring that use case solution together, help them identify the business value and ROI proposition, and then through simplicity and control, give them what enterprises need. So I'll stop there, and I think turn it over to the next speaker. But hopefully, during the next conversation, we will cover off some questions. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Parm.
Thank you.
Great. So yeah, Parm will be joining us later for the panel in this session. So up next, I'm delighted to be welcoming to the stage Dev. So Dev Singh is from Qualcomm, and welcome.
Can you hear? Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dev Singh. I lead the building, enterprise, and industrial automation business at Qualcomm. And I'm very happy to be here to talk about digital transformation of industries. Again, repeating the same information. So, as it turns out, it's surprising that whatever we call the modern factories and modern warehouses are actually turns out to be not that modern. What I mean by that is, even in this day and age today, we are seeing unprecedented amount of downtime, unplanned downtimes that is happening on a regular basis. And it turns out that 80% of warehouses have zero automation. So in essence, I mean, we are still in the age of digital transformation. It needs to happen. Reducing machinery time, downtime, and things that are needed to make sure the companies are profitable and operationally resilient, it needs to happen as soon as possible. And research suggests that things like inventory accuracy and simple tracking can improve 99% or higher tracking feasibility. So here, you can see why it's very simple in a warehouse that operational problems can happen. For example, a snapshot of factory here shows so many touch points that comprise of daily operation. Many of them are very interdependent with each other. So each touch point has a potential to interrupt a process or a cause problem, right? But at the same time, each of these touch points is an opportunity, if done correctly, can improve the efficiency. So whether preventing downtime or building a leaner, more efficient automation process, the opportunity to leverage a growing portfolio of technology to optimize every step of manufacturing and warehouse is possible with key technologies like that are shown here. So forward-looking companies are already using Qualcomm foundational technologies to create solutions using machine vision, AI, autonomous robots to increase efficiency, reduce friction, accuracy to track the movements of goods and machinery, and much more. All of these technologies play a critical role in transition to a smart factory, warehouse, and enable a true digital transformation. So it is very, very clear that preventing costly machine downtime, improving operational efficiency and resiliency, proactive planning, and adjust for service, being able to manage the changing demand is very critical. And the factories of the future need to be digitally transformed with automation, connected intelligent solutions. But more importantly, real-time data-driven awareness needs to happen. So with that, we are very excited to announce a revolutionary new solution called the Qualcomm Aware Platform. This platform combines industry's best technology, most diverse and expansive set of hardware, optimized to work together in one easy-to-use and easy-to-deploy solution. That is the Qualcomm Aware Platform. We'll get into it more. But much like smartphones revolutionized way we communicate and we connect today, this happened years ago. The Qualcomm Aware Platform, which will completely transform the way business across industries will connect, manage, improve, and overall become more aware of their operational assets, fleets, and much more. We've created this one platform solution to serve a wide variety of industries, which you see here, multiple verticals, multiple use cases. At the core of this of the Aware Platform is the application-enabled platform, with the cloud as primary delivery and business model. Through that cloud, we are focused on enabling enterprises and developers with seamless access to best technology. Overall, as IoT increases, moving to the edge, Qualcomm is focused on bringing the best silicon and increased intelligence at the edge. You're about to see how, through significant investment in AI, software, and services, we bring the best silicon and increase the edge intelligence to industries everywhere. And this is just the beginning. So going into the details, the key components of the Aware Platform, taking a closer look here, is the location capabilities of the Aware Platform. previously we heard tracking of goods is a problem statement for warehouses. And here, the devices from Aware platform are able to accomplish some pretty remarkable things. With a broad signal database and proprietary collection of positioning techniques and algorithms that deliver accurate and precise location in a power-optimized manner, the location services through Aware platform delivers the intelligence and ubiquitous positioning, which is key in providing the contextual condition monitoring information for valuable assets and goods. Features like connectivity technology, also found in the Aware platform, enable a number of critical functions such as remote device and connectivity management, and seamless device-to-cloud communication, which enables data processing in the cloud in a very secure, low latency, and power-efficient way. Sensor fusion capability provides even more contextual awareness, and technologies like 5G LTE connectivity is one of the many low-latency, high-accuracy solutions that will be used in the Aware platform, and this expansive library of connectivity solutions as a whole are the key components of the platform added value to digitally transform the factories of the future. Earlier, we also talked about condition monitoring and preventative maintenance, which is directly benefits the digital transformation of warehouses and industries. Through these insights gathered by the Aware trackers and the platforms uploaded to the cloud, users have real-time visibility to make informed decisions and power-based of metrics that matter the most. Ultimately, the combination of the location, connectivity, and condition monitoring, along with the cloud-based service, cloud APIs, webhooks, and tailored solution will help an easy use of scalable and solution that developers and enterprises can use for digital transformation of warehouses and smart factories everywhere. And if you would like to learn a little bit more about the Aware platform, please come and see us in Hall 3 for the demo. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Would you like to
Sure.
join the seat to take the panel now? Because I'd like to welcome to the stage Tunde Akindele, the moderator for the panel session, and the rest of the panelists. Welcome back, Parm, to conclude this session with a panel. So over to you. Thanks, Tunde.
Yeah, let's make sure it's working. Okay, great. Everyone can hear me. Hi, everyone.
I haven't met you. I'm Dave.
Great. Good afternoon once again, and welcome to this session where we'll talk very quickly about how to accelerate smart factories and digitize warehousing with the esteemed panel that I have there. So thanks, everyone. Depending on how you look at it, we've been hearing about private network, private 5G, smart factory for a while. And the question really is, how do we make sure we take this from just a hype to reality? So once again, please welcome the panelists. Thanks for joining us here. So very quickly, I just want to kind of start with a level setting question. Let's kind of understand what the issues are. Depending on who you talk to, right? STL partner says private network, private 5G will drive about 740 billion in value for the manufacturing space by 2030. ABI research says 88% of manufacturers surveyed say they're going to deploy this at some point soon. So what are the issues? What are the challenges preventing this from taking off today, right? So let's talk about the challenges before we now talk about how do we accelerate going forward. If I could start with Pam.
Sure. I think we have to be looking at it a little bit from a perspective of the end customer. So enterprises have a technology adoption approach that does take time. It's very different than a consumer type approach, or what we're used to in terms of large scale adoption. So I think two things is it's really identifying the value, so making sure that the ROI and the value that customers are going to understand, that drive that justification of the investment is going to be number one. The use cases has been still early stage. That's been a challenge to work through all of that with the enterprise to figure out what the ROI and the value proposition is. So it's still, I think that's number one, and just working through those technology adoption cycles is what's causing, is slowing things down a little bit.
Yep, great, thanks. So ROI is definitely one of the challenges, and what use cases will be leading that. Rob, do you want to take a stab at it again? What might be the challenges based on your experience so far working with customers and all that? What are you seeing as a challenge to scale?
Yeah, absolutely. So to your point, Parm, there's a transformation journey here. So 5G devices is definitely going to be a major part of this, but there's going to be devices and network types that are connected very differently at every location. So from a security perspective, how do you have consistent visibility across this? How do you assess the risk? And then how do you implement policies so that you can block new types of attacks in line? And from our perspective, we're also seeing regulatory impacts, very different at the country level. We see that in the EU, NIS2 is coming, which is going to require a lot more scrutiny from the company's perspectives and what they have to report back out to their member states. So these are all things that they have to think about from a security perspective.
Yeah, thanks. So security is another thing, and making sure the devices are secured. Because the moment you open up the network to wireless, you're talking about a new set of threats that you probably weren't thinking about before, which are being solved, but we'll talk a little bit more as well very soon on that. And Pinar, if you can sort of weigh in on what's delaying the takeoff. What are the challenges, and how do we make sure we can accelerate this further?
Well, speaking on behalf of an industrial customer, I can tell you that we are delaying it because these two worlds, telecom world and the industrial verticals, they need to start speaking the same language. I think this is where the whole conversation happens. This is as what Parm said at the beginning. So you really need to understand our KPIs, what we value to start with. And then, of course, ROI is another thing. Justification of the investment comes after that. And in my opinion, one of the things, especially in discrete manufacturing where I come from, we're paranoid about security and privacy. And I think we really need to understand that these infrastructures are secure enough for our industrial data to stay with us.
Great, thanks. And so great. I'll go to you, Deb, and great presentation, by the way, on the platform. But the conversation has been devices as well. How do we make sure the right chipsets and all these things? Do you want to touch a little bit about what challenges are there in making sure those chipsets are available, or whatever is holding them back from being available, in order to leverage the platform that you talked about as well?
So technology is here. In my opinion, it's more about the education, and as all of the panel here talked about, is solving the right problem, showing the ROI, going after the right use cases, and more importantly, educating the industry collectively that this technology is ready and also is resilient in terms of reliability and all. The industries that are looking to adopt these are very, very conservative industries, right? They have set processes. They have things that work today. So to be able to make a change is going to be evolution, not revolution. So it has to go step by step, and that is what I think is going to be needed.
Great, thanks. Step-by-step adoption. So Juergen, if you can just take a quick look at the use case approach, right? And as a practitioner, you've been kind of dealing with this. Is the use case approach working? What are the challenges related to that? Is there also, I think, Pinar talked about earlier, speaking the right language. Are these solutions, do they work with current technology the way it is, or are there things that needs to be fixed in there?
So from a Schneider perspective, we have two views, because we have our own smart factories, which we need to connect, enable, and get the data to flow to make better decisions. And the implementation is clearly based on use cases. So we're not just going there and throwing tons of equipment in just for the sake of fun and say, okay, now we have a new platform which can communicate. So we need to have a clear target. when we're doing this. And the similar thing is when we're looking at our customers who are working with our equipment and they want that the data flows from the sensor into the cloud to make intelligent decisions and bring them back. It's the same question. They're asking us, where do we start first? Where's the most value to gain? And then we're developing it from there. So they're not saying, okay, throw as much technology in it as you can, and then we hope the best that something comes back in return. So it's very clearly, we have problem A, B, C. How can you get us this problem solved? And that we have, let's say, energy efficiency is a huge topic today, and it means you need to connect a lot of different systems across the widespread facilities. So to get that control is they have this very clear view. This is the challenge, solve it, and bring the right package along the line, which then creates the value for me.
Great, thanks. So we need to make sure we're really solving a customer problem. Start with the problem, and then how do we leverage technology to solve it? So a good segue into the next area I want to focus on, which is technology enablers. What are the key technology enablers, right? Where do you see, we've been talking about 5G, private network and all that, where do you see the role of that? How critical is the role of private network in the transformations that we're talking about? And I'll kind of just skip a few people and go to the practitioners first. I'll start with you, Pinar.
Well, I think I cannot overstate the importance of the technology. We have seen it in practice. I mean, we've taken a chance, honestly speaking, because when we went ahead and implemented our private LTE infrastructure, we really didn't have numbers at hand. But it paid off. So, I mean, it was not totally uneducated guess. I think it is extremely important because we are digitalizing more and more every day. So, coming from the manufacturing side, digital processes and manufacturing will need more bandwidth, better quality, less delay, and more devices are getting connected. And even our legacy devices, we're trying to retrofit them to get connected. So it is extremely important, and we have to acknowledge that this is going to be needed in the future more and more. I'm not saying that other old wireless technologies are not going to survive. I think we will coexist. But I think private networks are the way to go. We've seen it, it works.
Great, thank you. Music to my ears. So private network, private 5G, private wireless, very important, as well as heterogeneous connectivity may be needed as well on the shop floor. Juergen, if you want to kind of chime in as well on the topic, right? How critical is 5G? How critical is private wireless, right, in this scenario, based on the situations or the use cases that you've deployed?
I'd say it's pivotal to move to the next level, because what we want to do is we want to go from not just creating insights and teasing people say you have a problem, we want to generate actions and outcomes, and to truly develop value. And for that, we need to get the data to flow on the first instance. It means how do we enable legacy systems to send the data where we can analyze it, how to get it easily plug in. So technology is critical, especially on a brownfield, where the majority of our facilities is today. Greenfield is always easy to stick the newest stuff in. And the second thing is then the security aspect. When data is, as one of my old mentors says, data is the new gold. So everybody wants to protect his data and not, let's say, handing it over on the silver plate to the competition. We know how much intellectual property sticks in there. These machines are programmed. I could give you tons of examples from various industries where this data which flows is not just zeros and ones, it holds intellectual property. And that's why you need the right technology at the end to protect the data and to get it to flow as well. So it's a twofold thing, protection and flow.
Great, thanks. You kind of led me to the next question area, which is around the security. So security is key. And then Robert, I'd like you to just take a stab at what can we do to enable the confidence that is needed in the security of industrial devices from a wireless perspective, right? I know right now practitioners are thinking, I'm never going to put that on wireless because I need it to be airtight and everything. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, data's the new gold. I appreciate that. Cybersecurity is definitely critical, but the good opportunity with companies like Palo Alto Networks is we've been securing manufacturing customers for 15 years now. So actually today we announced Zero Trust OT Security, which is a comprehensive security solution stack for customers, whether it's in wireless or wired, IoT, 5G devices. And what we're finding is that it's so much more than just protecting the devices. You have to understand what the users are doing. You have to understand the security of the applications that the 5G devices are based on. So we really look at it from an end-to-end perspective. The other use case is also remote operations, where people are still logging into those 5G devices for either remote management or also operating the business from elsewhere. So our approach to it is to provide first comprehensive visibility. So from the 5G perspective, you need subscriber level detail, you need equipment level detail, so that you can provide comprehensive policies and really understand the behaviors of how those devices should be working. So comprehensive layer 7 visibility, policy enforcements, integration with your various tools, whether it be inventory and asset management tools, other network access control tools. I'm really trying to simplify the operation for you as much as possible. So that's been our approach to it, and so far we're seeing good success with early customers.
Great, thanks. Fantastic. So now let's talk about the role of the ecosystem. You know, from where I'm sitting, we pretty much have the ecosystem represented on this panel. So we can start to solve world hunger right here, right? The role of the ecosystem in ensuring acceleration, when you think about what needs to happen in order for us to see the mass adoption, right? From a network perspective, if you think about what needs to happen on the core of the network, the RAN, and then the device, the UE, and all that, how do we make sure that we're getting the ecosystem to move in the right path in order to start solving this problem? So Deb, if you want to take the first stab at, you know, how can we get the ecosystem kind of working together to get this going?
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, it will take an entire ecosystem to make this a reality. As one company or one entity cannot do it all. So it is the chipset manufacturers to the network providers to the practitioners and system integrators who will bring this all together. And that's how this is going to happen. And the tools, we as the industry experts have to bring in those tools in a seamless way that puts things together, which is easy for adoption as well. So it will only take an ecosystem. For example, the Aware platform just we launched. We announced partnership with Microsoft. The Aware platform is great, but without the hooks and connecting the APIs to the systems like Microsoft Dynamics 365, the end user cannot use it. So you have to have companies and the ecosystem come together to make this so seamless that the adoption happens. So that's the role of ecosystem, in my opinion.
Great, thanks. And Parm, if you want to share a little bit as well, how you're kind of leveraging the ecosystem to drive some quick outcomes.
Yeah, no, I think the ecosystem is key, but also curating the end-to-end fully integrated solution is very important. So, and I think a lot of it is, making sure that we're building solutions that can be deployed be enterprise first, enterprise centric, to address all of what my colleagues have said, issues around security, compliance, observability, all of those. So from an ecosystem perspective, it's not just having all the systems or items available. It's actually putting it together. So a lot of what we're talking about here is what we call bridging the physical and the digital world, and that's going to happen at the edge. So what NTT, when we looked at it, we saw a lot of disparate solutions, but we packaged a full suite of solutions together. The edge computing with the private network, which is CIO-centric, meaning what we mean by that is it's an integrated network that plugs right into the existing IT infrastructure. It doesn't require overlay. It's not an overlay type network. And then packaging that together with the connected solutions. So we're bringing everything together as one managed service provider. And what I mean by a managed service provider than a traditional just SI is that also addressing the business model and the SLA requirement for those enterprises. So it's not just about integrating, but it's somebody who can also offer it as a OpEx type model. So if you're deploying an enterprise, there's a lot of upfront CapEx investment, and it's a very complex technology. So bringing that right partner together that brings the entire ecosystem together is really important, as opposed to trying to do it all individually with multiple partners.
Great, thanks. So bringing the right partners together, looking at it from a holistic approach becomes important. So let's talk about one of the key things, and I think we touched on it, you touched on it during your presentations as well, which is return on investment, right? Show me the money. Every business case has to show value, right? And we might talk about 5G, private 5G, private network. The customer has to start to see value incrementally. They're not going to make a ton of investment expecting to see value in 5 years. So Pinar, if you want to kind of talk a little bit about early indications of return on investment based on some of the deployments that you've embarked upon.
Well, I'm going to repeat myself here. When we went and implemented everything, we really didn't know if we would see any ROI. But now I can see early signs that with the very first use case, the automatic guided vehicles, we have seen serious efficiency improvements. And that is going to already feed back into our cost equation. But that's not enough. And the beauty of investing in an infrastructure that we can scale within the same place is that we're now working on new use cases. Each one of them has its own business case. And when you add up those business cases on top of each other, we will for sure see an ROI. How much? I still don't know. So the single use case does not justify the investment, so to say.
Great, thanks. So that now leads me to the, and we're still talking about ROI, but leads me to the issue of concurrent use cases. Am I going to be willing to deploy a private 5G system just for one use case? That becomes a bit tough to see the ROI, but as you have 4, 5, 6 use cases enabled within the same facility, then it starts to make sense. So Juergen, if you want to talk about early use cases based on engagements in this space and how you see, or what you see as required, critical, in order to start to drive those use cases, those ROI from use cases and deployments.
As Pinar said, the business case is obviously vital, but I think you also need to have a roadmap. As I said, a private 5G, this is not something you do overnight. It takes time. It takes deployment time. So what you need is, what's a 12-month plan and how many use cases I can bring online, because this justifies also you to ramp up the capacities in the scalability. And for one of the key things for me is scalability when we think about it. It's not so much about building a single use case and a single manufacturing line, which is cool and it can show you the value. But the criticality is if you have 12 manufacturing lines in one factory, how do I get from 1 to 12, not in 12 years, but in 12 months? Because then when I say I stick in a private 5G network, it's a no-brainer. Because I see this is the scale, and so in all we think is, yes, you have lovely 6, 7 nice use cases, but the key thing is how scalable are they within the site and then across multiple sites, because that then draws the big picture.
Great, thanks a million. So concurrent use cases, but also making sure they can scale and having a roadmap that helps you get from inception to the next phase of the evolution. Thank you very much, panelists, for being part of this. I hope you've all enjoyed it as I have. Thanks for your time, and really look forward to further discussions on the topic as we accelerate adoption in this space.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for joining.